Okay. I apologize for that little mishap. I'm happy that you're here. You made it. Welcome to our very first coffee chat of the season. Today, we're going to be discussing next steps in orientation and what your students should expect during the orientation process here at the University of Arizona. But before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping updates. You are logged into a Zoom webinar format. Your audio and your visual have been disabled. Your chat box has also been disabled. However, if there's links and stuff that we're going to share with you, we'll go ahead and put them in the chat box. What you can do is get your mouse and hover over the Q&A box there at the bottom of your screen. We encourage you to ask any questions that you have of us. I do see that a few of you have raised your hands. Go ahead and drop your questions in that Q&A. We have awesome staff that's there in the background that's able to answer those questions. Okay, without further delay, I do want to introduce to you Logan Adams. She is our Executive Director for Student Transitions and Customer Service. Logan, I appreciate you so much taking the time today to join us this afternoon. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited to be here. The coffee chats are one of my favorite programs because it's great to be able to tell our parents and family members what to expect as their students going through their enrollment journey. So I really appreciate you having me. I'm excited to do the first part of our three-part series for orientation and share a little bit more. So thanks for letting me come in. Sorry again for our technical difficulties, but I'm glad everybody made it here safely and we're all in the right space together now.
Yes, thank you. You made it. Thank you, Logan. So, just to start us off, let's go right into it. Our parents are here, our families are here, their students are admitted, and they want to know what's next. Can you walk us through what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what an exciting time, first and foremost. We are so excited to welcome your students to the Wildcat community and really excited that they've been admitted. That's such an exciting time, not just for our students, but for the family as a whole. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy that moment. I know that there are a lot of stressful things that come with a student being admitted and going through the enrollment process, but just know that. Our team is here to help through every step of that journey. So many of your students, as they got that admissions letter, it told them to start taking action immediately. And one of those first things was creating their net ID and their password. Their net ID is their unique university ID. That is actually something that they can create on their own. So, for example, mine is Logan Adams, all one word. And the students can create that based off of their name, using different numbers to identify themselves, whatever it might be. So once a student sets up that net ID and password, it gives them a lot of different or unlocks a lot of different paths for them at the institution. They can start accessing their student Outlook. So just like I'm sure most of you use for work, we have Outlook email here on campus. And so students use that email to communicate with all of their professors, staff on campus, etc. And so they can start immediately getting access to that and using it as much as they would like. They also can start signing up with that net ID and password for admitted student events. So if they're coming to join us for an admitted student tour, or if they're coming for an admitted student day, they're going to use that net ID and password to log into our system to be able to select those. And then last but not least, and probably the most important thing, is that a student can use that net ID and password to log into their Next Step Center. And a Next Step Center is basically our admitted student portal that walks them through everything that they need to do, know, complete before they are fully enrolled here. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen, I listed out some of the higher priority things that students can do. Number one thing that we tell students to do is go ahead and go in and pay that enrollment fee. For a first year student, it's going to be $450. For a transfer student, it's going to be $175. That is because it takes care of a lot of their things that you might not even think of that go along with the enrollment journey. For our first year students, that enrollment fee covers their orientation, it covers their placement exams, which we'll talk about here in a minute. It covers their digital CAT card that they'll get, along with many other things. And so that's why that is important for it to be step number one. That also unlocks their ability to register for virtual orientation and to submit their housing application, which you'll see are also to do items on there for them. But also in Next see financial aid information, like award offers or any merit that was given. And they also have the ability to do what we call the statement of residency classification, which is just a way for us to verify that they're who they say they are and live in the correct state that they said they lived in on the application. So really verifying whether a student is in state, out of state, or international.
Thank you, Logan.
Yeah.
Follow-up question to the residency classification. Would that be all students or only out of state, only residents?
It's going to be all students that need to interact with that form. Great question. So yeah, even if they're an in-state student, they're going to need to complete that, and same with out-of-state students.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit about what that virtual orientation experience looks like. So like I said, whenever a student pays their enrollment fee, it does unlock the ability for them to start their virtual orientation experience. We really have it broken into three parts of what that orientation experience as a whole looks like. Like I mentioned at the start of this is the first one of a three-part series. So this is just kind of a general overview today. We will talk some more about these steps more in depth as we go through the journey of the other two additional coffee chats. So just wanted to say that out loud. But for pre-orientation, there's a couple of things that we need students to do, complete, and take care of before their actual virtual orientation experience. You can see them listed here on the side. Placement exams are number one. We're going to talk more about those. So I'm going to save my spiel for a little bit. The pre-academic worksheet is important for our new students because this really helps us gauge beyond the transcripts, beyond the self-reported grades that they already provided us, what the student has taken. So if they've taken any courses on a collegiate level, if they've done any dual enrollment, if they've taken AP or IB tests, and they will have scores for that, this really kind of gets us a good look at what a student's academic profile is so that we can share that with their advisor and they know what to expect. And then last but not least, and probably the most critical piece for their virtual orientation experience is the completion of Arizona Arrival. Arizona Arrival is our portal for orientation, and it has literally everything from A to Z at the institution that we want students to know prior to enrolling here. It walks them through their college information, their academic college information, I should say. It walks them through our support services. It walks them through financial aid and other opportunities for funding. It walks them through some of our university policies that are going to be crucial for them during their time here, safety, and all of those things in between. So that's a really great place for them to land. It's self-paced. So they can do it as they please as they're walking through. They can take care of it all in one sitting, or they can really sparse it out over time. But it is crucial that students complete that portal prior to the next steps in the process.
Logan, question. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. You're really doing a good job talking thoroughly through this. But just to back up really quickly,
yeah,
so we have these different portals, Logan, and I
yeah.
think what you're saying is they log into their Next Step Center, and that will take them to their other links, correct?
Correct. The
Okay.
Next Step Center is going to be a hub for everything that they need. The other portal, this Arizona Arrival portal that we're talking about for orientation, that's going to come to them via email, but we'll use the same credentials as other systems. So they're not going to need another login. It's going to come straight to their email showing them when they have access, and then they'll be able to click and enter from there.
So one of the great ways that parents and families can support their student during this time is really just reminding them to check their cat mail account.
Yes, yes, very much so.
And then you kind of touched on placement exams. Is that, let's see, is that our next one here?
That's okay. If you can go back, I'll share a little bit more about what that virtual
Okay.
orientation experience looks like before we get into the placements. So after they complete these pre-orientation items, the next step for them is going to be their course registration, which I know we're really going to talk in depth at our next coffee chat. But it is good to know kind of what that process is going to be. For the course registration, Once a student completes Arizona Arrival, they're going to have the ability to go into the system and schedule a course registration appointment with a representative from their academic college. That is going to be a one-on-one appointment with someone from their academic college advising group to help walk them through their schedule that's needed for the first semester. So that is a really impactful moment for our students. It really helps set them up for success, especially being able to talk with an advisor one-on-one. We also have some other things that happen during those days where they have their one-on-one appointments. But again, we'll kind of go over all of that in the next coffee chats. And same with our post orientation. Just wanted you all to really know that that virtual orientation experience is broken up into three different parts. The post orientation, we have things called insight sessions and Destination Arizona, and those two we're really going to cover at the third and final coffee chat of this orientation series.
Placement exams. So students, from my understanding, will do that in their Next Step centers. Can you tell us a little bit about what they can expect for placement exams?
Definitely. I'll start by first saying that placement exams are something that always seem very scary, not just to the students, but also to our parents and family members. And so I think the best way to describe these placement exams is that they are a gauge for us to know where to properly place students in their first semester. The University of Arizona has three separate placement exams. There's math, there's second language, and there's writing. One of the important components to know about this is that not all placements are required for all academic programs. So, for example, might not be required in fine arts, but math is definitely required for engineering. And so it's important that your student knows, based off of their college and their program of study, what the placement requirements specifically are for them. But our good general rule of thumb is that all students should complete the placements in order to be placed into the appropriate courses. And as you can see, just to mention it again, our advisors get all of that placement data from those tests in order to properly place the students. So they're really looking at that pre-academic worksheet that we talked about earlier. They're looking at the placement exam scores, and that's what they're utilizing to determine the student's best placement in a math, a second language course, or a foundations writing course. So that's really what the purpose of those placements are. We did put some information over here about the details and the timing. Placements will open in around the middle of March. Again, we're asking that students complete those before their course registration. And it's really just because that's what's best for the students. If they complete those exams prior to their course registration appointment, the advisor is able to give them more of a robust schedule since they have all the information. If a student doesn't complete placements before orientation, it is harder to make sure that they're in the proper courses. And so I would just encourage, as parent and family members, for your students to take those exams prior to their course registration date. The exams range in time. Some of them are 30 minutes. Some can take up to an hour. It depends on your students' test taking abilities and their environment, of course. And so we always tell students to try to get in a closed and quiet environment. Math specifically is a test that has to be proctored virtually. And so it's best for a student to be in a situation where they don't have any distractions around them. And so I would just say for the students to set aside some time early on to take those and not let it be something that falls to the wayside and that they wait to do until the end of the summer.
Logan, are the placements, these aren't something that they should be preparing for, studying for, anything like that?
Great question. Yeah, we tell students that it's not anything that they really need to prepare for. It is solely a exam, a evaluation to test their knowledge, to see where they're at. They're not getting a pass or fail for this. It's not going on any type of record. It is really just used to determine where they are at point in time with that knowledge, whether it be math, second language, or writing, and then making sure that they're in a course that reflects where they're at academically.
And then in our Next Step Center, there is something that will explain to students who have done like AP courses, credit, maybe that transfers that will maybe help them with the exams.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in Next Step Center, there is a detailed explanation of what students can use for credit that might suffice those placement exams. So if they're coming in with a lot of AP math credit that they know they're going to get fives on the exams, or what have you, that is a good indicator that they might not need to take the placement exams. And so Next Step Center will really walk through that information with the student to see where they're at, see what other things they might be bringing in, and see if the placement's going to be needed for them.
There was a really good question in the chat. You all have some great questions today. Logan, can you explain a little bit more about change of major? Now that students are admitted, what does that look like for students?
Great question. For change of major, right now that process is currently being determined. We know that there is going to be an opportunity for students to change their major. We're just not sure when that form will be opening up for students to allow them to explore those other opportunities. The best thing that I can say right now is if a student is interested in changing their major, it's best for them to contact their recruiter to get more information on when that process is live and available and how they go through that. If a student isn't familiar with who their exact recruiter is, they can find that on our admissions webpage. We have a Find Our Recruiter tab that they can find the exact contact information, but the recruiter will be able to evaluate the academic profile of the student, and then recommend what their next course of actions would be, to change that major if that's what's desired.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so let's look at, and just really want to just remind, I know that there was a little bit of a misunderstanding with our link that we sent out, and many of our families joined a little bit later, but we do have the Q&A open. If you have any questions, please ask us in the Q&A. We have a great team behind the scenes who are able to answer those questions for you. Logan, moving on, you have some important dates and deadlines here. Do you want to explain those to us?
Definitely. We know in the enrollment journey, there's always a lot of dates to keep track of. So, screenshot this slide, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you have these dates for your student on your radar. A date that has already passed but was crucial is February 1st. We opened our virtual orientation experience registration. So, again, if a student has paid their enrollment fee, they're able to go in and register for the virtual orientation experience, which will then unlock the other steps for them. So that's step number one for students. Like we mentioned, around mid-March is whenever we send those placements open announcement, and students can come into their Next Step Center, see exactly what you were just talking about, Renee. If that placement is needed based off of the courses that they have, based off of the major that they're in, they're able to see all of that. And that happens about mid-March. We typically send out an email for that for students, letting them know that those are open and they can check Next Step Center. So your student will officially know when that happens. But the timeline, the go live for that is around the middle of March. On April 1st, if a student has signed up for the virtual orientation experience, they will be able to unlock their ability to start Arizona Arrival. Again, that's the orientation portal that students navigate through prior to that course scheduling appointment. And so that gives them some good lead time to be able to start working through that, start seeing what's in Arizona Arrival, and then working through it at their own pace. May 1 is important for a couple of different reasons. May 1 is National Commitment Day. So we ask students if they are planning to attend the University of Arizona, that they make their official commitment by that date. A commitment to us is paying that enrollment fee that secures your spot in the incoming class. And so we tell all of our first year students that if they're planning to join us for the fall, they need to commit with us by that May 1 deadline. May 1 is also the time that those course registration appointments will open. So if a student has registered for virtual orientation and they've completed that Arizona Arrival platform on May 1. They will unlock the ability to register for those appointments. Those appointments are happening from May 26th all the way through July 2nd. So there's about 5 weeks there that a student can pick a time that they can have that course registration appointment. But the students are able to pick any date and time within that bracket that works for them. So it's kind of a calendar that they'll be able to go in and select the best desired date. On July 6th, we're going to be unlocking our insight sessions, and they will last through August 7th. Those are the sessions that we'll talk about a little bit later, but they really give you an insight into the University of Arizona, no pun intended, with some of our main campus department, academic colleges, and kind of everyone in between. We do an open campus shout out for anybody that would like to host an insight session during that time. So a lot of opportunities for registration, for connection, for question and answers, all of those things starting on July 6th. And then last but not least, our Destination Arizona, which is their final transition program before they enter as new Wildcats. That'll take place on August 20th through the 22nd. And so that's a good one to save the date because we also have family programming during that time too. So hopefully not just your student, but also you can join us.
Yes, thank you, Logan. There's so much to look forward to. I just want
Yeah.
to go over a few things that I'm seeing in the chat. The first day of school will be Monday, August 24th for the fall 2026 semester for our students. And so that Destination Arizona for your students that Logan was just talking about starts the week prior. So August 20th through the 22nd prior to the first day of school. Just a few things for you to look forward to, and maybe save the date or highlight. There will be a Family Essentials orientation for you as parents and supporters. You can join any one of these dates. This information will be coming out to your email address. It will be the same presentation for all the dates, so you're welcome to join us, ask questions in the Q&A, similar to today. The Family Essentials orientation will also be recorded and placed on our Future Families website. Um, one of the things that we'll be talking about in our Family Essentials orientation is the transition from high school to college, as well as touching a little bit on a lot of our services here on campus so that you know a little bit more about the services that we have offered. So if you have questions about parking, safety, anything like that, it'll be a good hour of just talking about those certain topics. Insight sessions are sessions that you can also attend with your student. Logan mentioned these already. They're just going to go more in depth. We've put a ask out to all of our colleges and departments to see if they would like to host an insight session. Any sessions that you're interested in attending, you can do as many as you'd like. They will also be up for registration coming to your email address as well. Would like you to save the date during Destination Arizona. Future Families will also host Family Quest. So while your students are busy meeting other students, attending Destination Arizona, we will also host events for you if you happen to be on campus. This is just a part of an in-person mixer. You'll be able to meet other families as well during this time. So just a little save the date if you happen to be on campus with your student during that time. We have a lot of questions here in the chat. You all have been so wonderful asking us the questions that you have. Logan, one that is standing out to me is a deadline for the placement exams. Did we have a deadline for that?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. We don't have a deadline for that. Again, it's best for students to complete those placements before their course registration appointment, knowing that appointment is a different day for everyone. That's the deadline that I would use is maybe a week before that appointment to ensure that the advisors have enough time to review those placement scores, but no official deadline. I did see, I was trying to peruse the Q&A too. You do need to pay the enrollment fee as a student to unlock the ability to take placement exams because the placement exam fee is housed in the enrollment fee. So once a student takes care of that enrollment fee, that then takes care of the exam so that the students aren't having to pay additionally to take those. So that was another good question that I saw in the chat as well.
Thank you, Logan. There's one that I just marked live. Are you able to help me with this question from Maya? If someone had chosen their major in the first choice, and they're placed in undecided, she says, are they able to still apply to the major of their choosing, or would the program be too full when classes start?
That's a great question. Oftentimes, since our admissions process is a holistic and comprehensive review, oftentimes students are placed into the major where we see them being the best fit. And so that's why oftentimes we ask, or all the time we ask for a primary major and a secondary major. So if a student was placed in a secondary major, again, if they're interested in changing that major, they can have a conversation with their admissions recruiter to see what that process would be. We do think it's best oftentimes if a student is placed in that secondary major for them to stay in that major at least temporarily. And then after their first semester under their belt, they can contact an advisor to talk about what it would look like to change that major. So the possibility does exist, of course, but often those decisions are made strategically and intentionally with the student's best interest in mind.
You explained that beautifully. Thank you, Logan.
Of course.
Going back to the virtual orientation, when we say virtual orientation, we do mean it's online for this part of it, correct?
Correct. This
Okay.
is the orientation session is completely virtual, or I should say the orientation process is completely virtual. The Arizona Arrival platform is online, and then those course registration appointments will take place over Zoom as well.
Okay. Colleen has a question about that. She says, they registered for the virtual orientation, but it doesn't list a date. Will that be sent later?
Yes, great question. Like we mentioned earlier, whenever the student goes in to pay their enrollment fee, they can sign up for the virtual orientation. That just registers them for that experience. They get the email to unlock Arizona Arrival. Once they've completed Arizona Arrival, that's whenever they get the link to schedule their actual course registration appointment. That will be their day where they have their appointment and other supports set up during that time. So right now there's not a day that they have, but coming May 1, if they've completed Arizona Arrival, they will be able to select their date and choose the time that they're having that course registration appointment.
Thank you, Logan.
Yeah.
So Lauren has a question. What is Destination Arizona? We do have a whole coffee chat coming up on that, but Logan, do you want to touch on that briefly?
I will touch on it briefly. Absolutely. So, Destination Arizona is the culmination of their transition experience to the institution. It is a 3 day in person program that the students can attend to help acclimate them to the institution and be sure that they're fully comfortable as they enter as new Wildcats. The program focuses on academic engagement. So they'll have opportunities to interact with their academic colleges and meet fellow students that are entering in that same cohort. We focus on self advocacy. So knowing that their parents and family members aren't right around the corner to be able to do a lot of the things that have been done in the past for them. We want to really teach the students how to advocate for themselves and have some of those conversations, or at least make sure that all of their needs are being met. And then last but not least, the program focuses a lot on community engagement and community involvement. So not only just the community of Arizona, but the community of Tucson and all of the things that are offered here to support students and to create that sense of belonging for them.
That's exciting. So
Yeah.
interesting. So good for our students. One question I do want to answer live. Can you touch on freshmen if they're allowed to have cars on campus?
They are allowed to have cars on campus. They do have to pay for a parking pass. Um, traditionally, like at most other institutions, I would imagine, a student is more than welcome to bring a car to campus, but they will have to have a parking assignment. As you can imagine, the University of Arizona is a large institution, so we have many surface lots and many garage options for them that they can add to their bill, their bursar bill. But yes, students are more than welcome to bring cars to campus. They just have to think about if they're doing that, that they need to make sure they have a parking pass.
Thank you, Logan.
Yeah.
We do have a housing coffee chat coming up. There's not an, okay, she's asking, when must housing applications be in by?
There is a priority date for housing applications. I believe, and I don't want to be quoted on this, but I
Mm.
believe that that priority date for housing applications is April 1st, for students to have those in for priority hall and roommate assignments. So if you already know that your student wants to attend here, I would encourage them to get that housing application in as soon as possible. We do have guaranteed housing for our incoming class. So everyone will have a spot to be on campus. But of course, the sooner that you get that application in, the better. If you have a certain hall that you're wanting to stay in or certain roommates that you're wanting to stay with.
Thank you, Logan. I am trying to get through some of these questions. Our team is working hard here behind the scenes. Two right away, how much are parking passes? I have to say those run different costs. So we have both lots and garages. I will drop the link for parking and transportation. You can take a look at their website. The parking passes won't open. Usually it's at the beginning of July. So look for those emails and that communication coming towards the summertime when all those parking passes will open. Um, we are at really at almost at time 4:40. To be respectful of everyone's time, I just want to thank you, Logan. You did a fantastic job just covering what's next for our students after they're admitted, sharing great information with all of our parents and family members on what to expect. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you join us for Admitted Student Day coming up. You will be receiving more information about that as well. Just a reminder that this has been recorded. We will place it on our website, futurefamilies.arizona.edu. You may contact us with any questions that you have. Again, apologize for the situation earlier with the Zoom account. But Logan, thank you so much.
Of course, of course. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everyone. I want to let you know too that we're going to stay on and just answer the questions behind the scenes.